View host accuses Trump of treason, and the reason has nothing to do with Comey. The host of The View erupted Thursday over reports that President Donald Trump banned American media from covering his Wednesday Oval Office meeting with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak, calling the move treason. The meeting was held in the Oval Office, and though no U.S. media outlets were permitted to cover the meeting, reports revealed that a Russian photographer was allowed to take photos for Russian state news agencies. According to CNN, the meeting was set to emphasize the necessity for the U.S. and Russia to combine forces in an effort to end Syrian and Ukrainian violence. Additionally, CNN reported that the meeting floated the prospect of a U.S.-Russia coalition to resolve Middle East conflicts. He's speaking to the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov and Ambassador Kislyak, who's the one who Michael Flynn got fired for talking to him about possibly talking about sanctions. Host Joy Behar said of the meeting, and in the room, here's Trump talking to the Russians, and the Russian press is there covering, and guess who's missing from the room? The American press. They were barred from the room, Behar continued. All I'm saying is in this lengthy speech, which I hate to give, is that this is treason to me. This is un-American, unpatriotic. Americans should be furious. This is the American press being left out. It hurts my feelings, frankly. The New York Times reported Wednesday's covert meeting and called it a public relations coup. The result was a public relations coup of sorts for Russia and Mr. Lavrov in particular, who not only received a collegial Oval Office welcome from the president, but the photographic evidence to prove it. By contrast, when Secretary of State Rex W. Tillerson traveled to Moscow last month, President Vladimir Putin of Russia kept him waiting for hours before granting him an audience at the Kremlin. Then, too, Mr. Tillerson left his American press contingent behind. Many on social media called the move to allow Russian media into the Oval Office unwise, responding to a Twitter question as to whether or not it was a sound decision to allow the Russian photographer into the Oval Office. Former Deputy CIA Director David S. Cohen answered, no, it was not. Deadly Serious Q, a Twitter user, asked Cohen, what is a good idea to let a Russian government photographer and all their equipment into the Oval Office? Colin said, deadly serious, what is a good idea to let Russian government and all their equipment into the Oval Office? And Cohen responded, no, it was not good. Others even called Trump a traitor to democracy. Sean Blackhall. The Washington Post reported that a senior White House administration official revealed that the Russians had to go through the same screening as a member of the U.S. press going through the main gate to the White House briefing room. The official noted that it is standard practice for ambassadors to accompany their principals, and it is ridiculous to suggest there was anything improper. He said the White House rooms are swept routinely for bugging devices. And let's take a look at our friends at The View.
So the fallout over the firing of James Comey keeps on building. Now people are wondering who actually did it. Because the White House says it came from the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, but reportedly, he's so mad that they're trying to pin it on him, he almost resigned. What the hell?
It's crazy. It feels like it's unraveling, that the story's unraveling, and I think they were very unprepared for all of the questions. And I told you ladies during the Hot Topics meeting yesterday that I have a friend that knows the Deputy Attorney General and says he just has a wonderful reputation of integrity across party lines. And so I was surprised that they pinned it on him, because he is the one person that's going to say, don't pin this on me. You know, I'm not responsible, and I wasn't the ultimate decision maker.
Should he resign then in protest?
I think that would speak very loudly,
Yeah,
because
he should.
if you, just like they say that we might not hear from James Comey in certain testimony because he won't reveal classified information. So
He can do it behind closed doors.
well, he can do it, but we won't hear certain things from him, because I don't think he's the type to come back out now and say this. You know, even his letter.
Nobody's checking for Comey.
He doesn't want. So my point is that if this guy were to resign, I think it would speak so loudly because it would confirm everything everyone's saying.
I am wondering if Comey is going to address the letter that 45 wrote that basically says, you told me on 3 separate occasions that I wasn't being investigated. Because every single former prosecutor that I've spoken to and people at the Justice Department are saying that that would be illegal and unethical.
left?
Well, that I know, right? And I would be surprised that he would let that just sort of lay out there, because that calls his integrity completely
Does this
into
feel
question.
like a coup to anybody?
Oh, you said that.
It just feels like a coup. You know, first the whole Justice Department everybody got gutted, all of the things got gutted, and it just feels like he's got all of the generals. It just feels kind of kooky.
I feel as though that things are changing around a little bit. I'll tell you why. Today I was reading the New York Post, which is pro-Trump all the way. The letters were more like 80% against Trump today.
Really?
Then a crew guy was fixing my TV in my office, and he overheard me saying this about the letters, and he said, you know what, you're right, I'm turning on him. I voted for him, I don't like him anymore. He said he's going to eliminate mortgage rates deductions on Long Island, and he's going to destroy the whole borough. He said, I don't like him anymore. Then I see a thing on, then I see a thing on CNN where they talk about Iowa voters in that district that loves him. I'm not so sure about him anymore.
Well, talk about this picture that you saw.
And then this morning in the New York Times, there's a picture which we have to show you, where Trump is basically in the Oval Office. Can we get that shot? We have it? I know we do. So there he is. And he's speaking to the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov and Ambassador Kislyak, who is the one he's the guy who Michael Flynn got fired for talking to him about possibly talking about sanctions. And in the room, there's Trump talking to these Russians, and guess who's, and the Russian press is there covering it. And guess who's missing from that room? The American press is not allowed. They were barred from the room. Okay? So all I'm saying in this lengthy speech, which I hate to give, is that this is treason to me. This is un-American, unpatriotic. Americans should be furious. This is the American press being left out of it hurts my feelings, frankly.
Pay less attention to who's going to leave or who's not going to leave, and not lose the sense of what we're really talking about is who's taking up this inquest about these Russian ties. That's the question. Doesn't matter if Comey's gone. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how it went down. It went down, and it's kind of shady. But we're saying, okay, we cannot lose focus on the timing. And so who's now going to be in charge of making these decisions?
It's where FBI people are still there, though. And I got to say, Eric Holder tweeted something out, and he talked about duty, honor, and country. I remember having that in my office when I was in the U.S. Attorney's office. Duty, honor, and country. And I bet you those career people are doing it.
No, for me, it's exhausting. He's exhausting. There's all this stuff. Some of it's he said, she said. Look, most of all for me is you're seeing the personality of the man. And for me, you know, this is a guy you came to know on a television show saying, you're fired. And it was funny and it was entertaining then. But he's doing that now with Comey, with media people. And he thinks he's still on a television show, but you're president now. And you're accountable to us. And it's really, I think it's challenging for people trying to follow the news right now, because there are people who voted for him with the expectation that he was going to help them, and I get that.
Yeah.
But his character right now, don't bend over backwards to try to defend character that looks like there's something wrong that's going on here.
Well,
Something's not right about this.
and it's going in crazy directions because, you know, Sean Spicer, who we always like to sort of talk about, well, he looks like he's having a little bit of a breakdown. He's been hiding.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
he was hiding in some bushes.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
And then he said, look, I will only talk to you with the lights out.
Yeah, he said that to reporters.
No, you think I'm kidding. No, he actually said, I don't want to get pictures. He's in the dark.
Yeah.
He wanted the cameras off. He wanted the cameras off. And so now,
I feel sorry.
you know, we have, we're going to see Sean Spicer as we saw him before because, of course, Melissa McCarthy is going to be playing him again on Saturday Night Live. And we wanted to show you this thing as we go to commercial. Roll that beautiful bean foot.
Charming, oh so charming. It's a learning how charming I feel. So pretty that I hardly can believe on me. Such a pretty face, such a pretty dress, such a pretty smile, such a pretty feel. I feel stunning and entrancing. Feel like running and running for joy. For I know I am pretty wonderful.
So whether you're an Oscar winner
The fabulous Anne Hathaway.
of fierce
Anyway, let us know what you think in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching. But I do believe the press should have been at the American press should have been at the meeting there. Thank you again.